Chapter 36-25. That's right. The decision of the other female cultivators has nothing to do with us. In any case, the 5 of us should stick together. Sheng Guaniying nodded. Their group was already very small. If they were to split up now, the number of people would be even smaller. Although many cultivators were standing on the same side, no one knew if they would really stick together when the time came. In the end, it was safer for them to stick together. Moreover, they were already hated in the outer palace. In such a chaotic situation, they might be killed. Hearing Sheng Guaniying's words, Ao Lingxiao couldn't help but look at her in surprise. He didn't think that Sheng Guaniying, who had always acted like she didn't care about him, would actually treat him as a teammate at a time like this. While the 5 of them were talking, the cultivators present had also made their choices. Soon, the male cultivators and female cultivators automatically split up. The male cultivators walked to the front while the female cultivators stayed behind. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's group of 5 also walked to the group of male cultivators. Many cultivators noticed the actions of Bailey Hongzhuang's group of 5 and a trace of surprise appeared on their faces. Clearly, they didn't expect them to make such a choice. Bailey Hongzhuang's group is really unique. Others can't join them. I think only a guy like Ao Lingxiao can blend in with them. That's not it. I think their relationship with the inner palace cultivators is pretty good. Now that everyone has split up, they still haven't made any moves. It's really, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others stood quietly in the same place. The words of others did not affect them in the slightest. In fact, they were already used to the criticism of the crowd. They had long been accustomed to it. Xue Changdong originally thought that his suggestion was extremely good. This way, he could justifiably split up Bailey Hongzhuang and Sheng Guaniying from the group. It would be much easier for him to make a move on Di Baichen and Sheng Guaniying. However, Xue Changdong realized that the 5 of them were still in the same group as before. They did not seem to have the slightest intention of splitting up. Xue Changdong could not help but frown. The next moment, Xue Changdong walked quickly to Bailey Hongzhuang and the others and said, "Are you dissatisfied with my suggestion? Everyone has already separated. Why are you still like this?" "No." Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head. "The reason why senior brother Xue let the female cultivator stand at the back is undoubtedly to protect us. However, we are already used to being in the same team. Besides, we are not afraid of danger, so let's explore the way for everyone." Bailey Hongzhuang's elegant and refined face rippled with a smile as elegant as a lotus. Bailey Hongzhuang's words were reasonable and justified. In a few words, she explained their behavior, making people unable to find any fault. Everyone, who thought that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others would definitely ignore them, couldn't help but be stunned at this moment. They didn't expect that Bailey Hongzhuang would actually explain this matter. It seemed that she was much easier to get along with than they thought. From the moment these 4 people entered Penglai Palace until now, what everyone saw was the strong side they showed in battle. Every time they met, it was either a battle or a conflict. Everyone really didn't have any understanding of their true character. Chapter 36-26. Looking at the beautiful face in front of him, Xue Changdong's expression couldn't help but pause. His eyes couldn't help but flash with a touch of amazement. He already knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was beautiful, but for him, nothing was more important than strength. In addition, he also knew in his heart that he wasn't worthy of a woman like Bailey Hongzhuang. However, at this moment, when he saw the perfect face at such a close distance, he couldn't suppress the shock in his heart. Too beautiful. He had never seen such a perfect face. There was no lack of charm in the elegance, no lack of nobility in the elegance. It was as if there was magic. As long as one looked at it, it would be unforgettable. At this moment, when he heard Bailey Hongzhuang's light and sweet voice, Xue Changdong only felt that he was almost bewitched. "Brother Xue." Fang Tian saw that Xue Changdong began to be in a daze and couldn't help but remind him in a low voice. Ah! Only then did Xue Changdong come back to his senses. When he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang again, he had already regained his senses. Junior sister Bailey, what you said is very reasonable. However, now that everyone is following this rule, if you are too independent, it doesn't seem too appropriate. After all, once you are an exception, other cultivators may follow suit. In this way, the rule will be broken, and the following things will not be convenient to continue. In order to let this matter proceed properly, I hope the two of you can understand. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang slightly frowned. She didn't think that this matter was a big deal at all. However, at this moment, after Xue Changdong raised the matter to such a high level, she didn't know how to refute. Sheng Ying's face also looked a little ugly. This Xue Changdong is beating around the bush to put such a big label on us. If we refuse, isn't it the same as making this label true? I said earlier that this kind of guy is best at this kind of method. As long as you don't agree, he will directly put the label of not cooperating with you. In this way, it seems polite, but it is full of coercion. Ao Ling Xiao shrugged and said. Xue Changdong's face was rippling with a smile. He believed that under such circumstances, the other party could no longer refuse. So be it. Xiren said, you'll be safe if you stay behind. Besides, this isn't a big deal. We'll meet again when the time comes. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Di Beichen. Di Beichen also nodded. It's fine. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang said, all right then. Bailey Hongzhuang and Shengguan Yingying slowly walked out of the group and joined the women's group at the back. The smile on Xue Changdong's face gradually widened. He cupped his hands towards Bailey Hongzhuang and the others and said, thank you for your cooperation, junior brothers and sisters. Standing in the female team, Bailey Hongzhuang's tightly furrowed brows did not loosen. This situation reminds me of the time when I was training in the inner palace. At that time, she said that if there was danger in the future, she would definitely not be separated from everyone. However, now she was stuck again. The last time they went out, it was an act of suicide. However, from what I see, this island is not that dangerous. Besides, there are so many cultivators here. Nothing will happen. Shengguan Yingying comforted. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. That's true. This new island is indeed much safer. That's why I agreed. Chapter 36-27. Master, I feel that there's something wrong with the way Xue Changdong looks at you. Xiao He sat on Bailey Hongzhuang's shoulder and dangled her 2 feet, a puzzled look on her face. Shengguan Yingying couldn't help but chuckle, that's because he's taken a fancy to Hongzhuang. Previously, his eyes were staring straight at Hongzhuang as if he had lost his soul. Xue Changdong's absent-mindedness was extremely obvious. If it weren't for the cultivator beside him reminding him, it was unknown when he would have regained his senses. That's true. Xiao He chuckled, Master's charm is indeed amazing. What nonsense are you all talking about? Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head, a hint of helplessness on her pretty face. Shengguan Yingying raised her eyebrows and chuckled, I'm telling the truth. However, Hongzhuang, you're really the most beautiful person I've seen in all these years. Back then, I thought that Beichen was so good-looking that I was afraid that no woman in this world could match him. It wasn't until I met you that I realized that there was actually someone who could match him so well. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. When she first met Di Beichen, she was also shocked. She never thought that the scoundrel who called her his wife would actually become her true love. Since everyone has been divided into teams, let's begin. Suddenly, Xue Changdong's voice came from the front. After receiving everyone's response, everyone continued to advance towards the inner part of the island. Brother Xue, now that we've successfully separated them, the next step should be very smooth, right? Feng Tiany's eyes shone brightly, and his face was filled with an unconcealable smile. Now, everything was ready, except for the east wind. Xue Changdong nodded, "That's right. I've already told Di Beichen and the rest to move towards the place with the most eight-legged bright scorpions. Later, we'll be not far from them and take the opportunity to push them forward. This way, we'll be able to complete the task." Brother Xue is wise. Everyone thought that such a troublesome matter would be solved by Brother Xue's little trick. I'm really impressed. Xue Changdong smiled proudly. The most important thing in Penglai Palace is the brain. As long as you're willing to use your brain, you'll get twice the result with half the effort. When we return, the cultivation resources promised by Senior Peng will also be ours. Let's strive to enter the Inner Palace successfully during the Inner Palace assessment. With Brother Xue's ability, there won't be any problems with entering the palace. In the blink of an eye, these groups, theirs, and the others'. In just a blink of an eye, they's, ants, they's, they, these, there's really a lot of cultivators here. We've been squeezing and we've disappeared. Shangguan Yingying looked ahead in surprise. Looking at the unfamiliar figures in front of her, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes darkened. "Yingying, let's look for Di Beichen's. I don't know why, but I have a bad feeling." Chapter 36-28. When Xue Changdong saw that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were no longer behind him, his lips slowly curled into a sinister smile, and his eyes became brighter. Earlier on, he had already bribed some cultivators to deliberately confuse everyone. Only by doing so could he completely separate Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Otherwise, if Di Beichen and the others were in danger and Bailey Hongzhuang and the others ran over, wouldn't his previous plan be in vain? Di Beichen and the other two cleared the monsters in front of them and did not pay much attention to the back. They knew that with Bailey Hongzhuang and Shangguan Yingying's strength, there was no danger at the back of the group. The number of eight-legged bright scorpions is increasing. Di Beichen said as he fought. Xiren nodded with a solemn expression. Indeed, we have already encountered 3 eight-legged bright scorpions along the way. It has only been an hour, and they have not appeared so frequently in the past few days. In my opinion, our opponents will completely become the eight-legged bright scorpions in a few days. These guys are very difficult to deal with. Ao Lingxiao frowned. If it was not for Di Beichen and the others, he would not like to join in the fun. As Di Beichen and the others gradually went deeper, they suddenly realized that the eight-legged bright scorpions appeared more frequently. It went from 2 or 3 at the beginning to 5, 6, 7 or 8. Most importantly, these eight-legged bright scorpions appeared at the same time. As a result, they could not help but feel the pressure. The eight-legged bright scorpion's strength was equivalent to a Purple Realm 6th level cultivator. Although Xiren had the ability to fight above his level, with so many of them appearing, it was difficult for him to deal with them. Something is wrong with this situation. Di Beichen stopped and looked ahead with a complicated expression. According to our judgment, the eight-legged bright scorpions should appear in a few days. Why is it like this now? When Xiren was also somewhat puzzled. I don't know either. We've been separated from the main group for quite a while, but judging from the battle fluctuations coming from the others, it seems that the situation they've encountered isn't as complicated as ours. Could it be that there are more eight-legged bright scorpions in our direction? Ao Lingxiao frowned. The direction we are in seems to have been pointed out by Xue Changdong. Have you offended Xue Changdong before? No. Di Beichen shook his head and said with certainty. Although we have offended many people in the outer palace, we have never seen Xue Changdong. Maybe I'm thinking too much. Ao Lingxiao shrugged and shook his head. Since there was no conclusion, they continued to walk forward. Moreover, there were more than 10 cultivators beside them. As long as they were not surrounded by eight-legged bright scorpions, there would be no problem. Brother Xue, the eight-legged bright scorpion's nest is in front. If Di Baichen and the others walk in, it will be like poking a hornet's nest. Let's not continue forward. Xue Changdong looked ahead. Let them go in by themselves. We will stay here. If they escape, we will guard here and throw them back. Brother Xue, they have more than 10 cultivators with them. What about them? Feng Tianyi could not help but ask. Chapter 36-29. Di Baichen and the others continued to move forward. Suddenly, the movement in front of them became louder. Seeing this, they couldn't help but stop and look in front of them. There seems to be something wrong in front. It seems like there are many monsters approaching us. There were already many monsters in front. Why did the number suddenly increase? Ziren frowned. I think this situation is a bit strange. Why don't we retreat and be careful? Di Baichen nodded. That's right. This situation is indeed a bit strange. Let's wait for a while. However, when Di Baichen suggested that everyone wait for a while, the other cultivators didn't seem to care. Didn't everyone say that Di Baichen and the others are very powerful? Looking at their current performance, I really can't tell. So what if there are many monsters in front of us? It's just a 6-footed bright scorpion. If one comes, we'll kill one. If a group comes, we'll kill a group. There's no need to be afraid. I don't know what Master Long sees in them. In my opinion, I'm much better than them. Di Baichen raised his beautiful eyebrows, but ignored the sarcastic words of the crowd. He turned to Ziren and Ao Lingxiao and said, We'll wait here for a while. Don't worry. In this kind of dangerous situation, he didn't want to let his emotions affect his decisions. Hong Zhuang was still waiting for him. Since the last incident, he promised Hong Zhuang that he wouldn't easily take risks. He didn't want Hong Zhuang to worry. Okay. Ziren and Ao Lingxiao nodded together. They also had a bad feeling in their hearts. In this kind of situation, there was no need to show off. When the crowd saw that Di Baichen and the others had stopped, their footsteps paused slightly. Then, they threw a disdainful look at Di Baichen and the others and continued to move forward. Xue Changdong and the others obviously didn't think that Di Baichen and the others' intuition would be so accurate. They actually chose to stop here. Oh no, if they stop here, won't they not fall into our trap? Feng Tianyi was a little flustered. It wasn't easy for them to come up with such a foolproof plan. They were about to succeed, but they didn't expect the other party to suddenly stop. Xue Changdong couldn't help but be stunned. How can this be? While Di Baichen and the other two were thinking about the situation in front of them, they suddenly heard a slight sound coming from behind them. The three of them couldn't help but look at each other. Along the way, all the demon beasts behind them had been beheaded by them. It was impossible for any more demon beasts to appear. If that was the case, then there was only one possibility. What appeared behind them wasn't a demonic beast, but a human. Why are there people behind us? Di Baichen winked, and the three of them immediately went into hiding. Xue Changdong and the others were just thinking about countermeasures, but when they looked again, they found that Di Baichen and the other two had already disappeared. How can this be? Where are they? Xue Changdong was slightly startled. He kept looking around. This situation was really unexpected. Feng Tianyi looked around and didn't see Di Baichen and the others. He couldn't help but ask, could they have continued to move forward? Chapter 36-30. Di Baichen and the other two hid behind the trees and finally saw the figures of Xue Changdong and the others. A trace of confusion appeared on their faces. Didn't you say that you didn't have any interactions with them? But they're clearly here for you. Ao Lingxiao tilted his head and looked at Di Baichen and Ziren beside him. His evil face was filled with confusion. I can confirm that I didn't have any interactions with Xue Changdong and the others before, but I don't understand why they would target us. Di Beichen's eyes flashed with a thoughtful light. It was because he was sure that he had never offended Xue Changdong that he was so relaxed all the way. He didn't expect that he would be schemed against in the end. Ao Lingxiao, do you have any conflicts with them? Ziren couldn't help but ask. Ao Lingxiao chuckled, do you think that they would go through so much trouble to deal with a lone guy like me? That's strange. Ziren's brows furrowed deeper and deeper, could it be that they are avenging someone else? I don't think so. Ao Lingxiao shook his head. In this Pinglai Palace, everyone only cares about their own interests. Apart from their own loved ones, no one would do such a strenuous and unrewarding thing. You are people that Master Long thinks highly of, so there is no need for them to offend you for some friend. At this time, Di Beichen's deep and magnetic voice suddenly rang out, I'm afraid, their target is Hongzhuang and Yingying. As soon as these words came out, Ziren's expression suddenly changed, and Di Beichen continued to speak. Previously, Xue Changdong deliberately suggested that we separate the men and women. Logically speaking, Hongzhuang and the others insisted on being with us, so there shouldn't be any problems. But Xue Changdong put a hat on them, so they had no choice but to leave the team. Now they're here to deal with us. Isn't it because of Hongzhuang and Yingying? Di Beichen narrowed his long and narrow eyes. His pupils, which were as deep as the sea, quietly flashed with a ruthless light. If they wanted to deal with him, he would not be so angry. But the other party actually dared to have designs on his wife. That was absolutely unforgivable. Ao Lingxiao lowered his eyes and pondered for a moment before saying, that is very likely. Both of your wives are graceful and outstanding. Among the 3,000 female disciples of Penglai Palace, their appearances are among the best. It is not strange for men to covet them. Damn it, he actually dares to have designs on my Yingying. I must dig out his eyeballs and see if he still dares to have such thoughts. Ziren's originally gentle face instantly became fierce. Although he usually looked indifferent, it was different when it came to his wife. He and Yingying usually quarreled, but the more they quarreled, the better their relationship became. Yingying's position in his heart was incomparable to anyone else's. Since someone dared to have designs on his Yingying, he must take the other party's life. Ao Lingxiao, who originally didn't care too much, suddenly realized that the two people in front of him were emitting a fierce aura. Their eyes were as sharp as knives, and murderous intent rose in their eyes, causing people to feel cold all over. Suddenly, he put away the joking expression on his face. It seemed that the other party's actions had touched Di Beichen and Yingying's reverse scale. Chapter 36-31. From the looks of it. Are you going to fight to the death with them? Of course. Di Beichen raised his head. His handsome and flawless face was filled with fierceness and murderous intent. His wife had always been his reverse scale. No one could touch her. No, they couldn't even think about it. Ziren's lips slowly curled into a sinister smile that was different from before. It seems that what we did in the outer hall wasn't enough. Someone actually dares to have designs on us. Ao Lingxiao looked at the murderous duo in front of him and couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. With your wife's looks, I'm afraid she has a lot of troubles. Ziren raised his eyebrows and glanced at Ao Lingxiao. A bachelor like you won't understand. Ao Lingxiao paused. The corner of his lips twitched. Are you mocking me? You'll naturally understand when you have a wife. Di Beichen cut in again. Even though they had already made up their minds, Di Beichen and the others didn't act immediately. They also wanted to see what the other party had planned. Let's go and take a look. Xue Changdong couldn't help but say after checking for a while and not finding Di Beichen and the other two. Brother Xue, the eight-legged scorpion's nest is not far ahead. It's very dangerous for us to go there now. Fong Tianyi was a little resistant. The eight-legged scorpion's nest was a very terrifying place. Xue Changdong's face was clouded. Nonsense, of course I know it's dangerous. However, if we let them escape today, it will be difficult to take their lives in the future. If they don't die, we won't be able to explain ourselves when we return. After being lectured by Xue Changdong, Fong Tianyi couldn't help but nod. Yes, yes. After seeing Xue Changdong and the others walk past, Di Beichen and the other two stood up. They really have a good plan. The eight-legged bright scorpion's lair is right in front of us and they actually discovered it. If we were to fall into it, we would really die for no reason. When Xiren coldly snorted, the coldness in his eyes growing stronger. Di Beichen looked at the backs of Xue Changdong and the others thoughtfully. It seems that my previous judgment was not wrong. This matter was not done by them, but by someone else. That makes sense. Although Xue Changdong isn't a good person, as far as I know, this guy only cares about his own cultivation in the end. He doesn't care too much about romantic affairs. Moreover, the four of you are already famous in the outer palace. Ordinary people won't take the initiative to become enemies with you, said Ao Lingxiao. Di Beichen's eyes narrowed slightly. His fine and long eyelashes left a shadow on his eyebrows, just like his unfathomable eyes. According to what you said, the person who ordered them to do this should be from the inner palace? Ao Lingxiao chuckled. Xue Changdong's status in the outer palace is not low. The person who can make it difficult for him to explain is at least someone from the inner palace. I wonder who you think of when I say this. Di Beichen's sword-like eyebrows slightly raised. His deep and bright eyes suddenly became clear. I think I know who arranged this. It seems that they really don't want to give up. Xiren's lips curled into a cold and sarcastic smile. His eyes were already filled with snow. Chapter 36-32. We can only slowly settle this score in the future. Di Beichen's voice was gentle, but there was a bone-chilling coldness in it. Duan Huali. He had already warned this guy not to have any improper thoughts. He did not expect that this guy would not restrain himself at all. Instead, he had bribed the cultivators of the outer hall to take their lives. Since that was the case, they were completely on the opposite side. The other party had already sent people to deal with them. If he did not return the favor, it would be inappropriate. Ao Lingxiao's expression changed. He did not expect that in such a short time, Di Beichen and the others had already found out who the enemy was. It seemed that this was going to be another big show. Di Beichen, what do we do now? Xiren turned to look at Di Beichen. We can't go forward. I'm afraid that those guys who didn't fear death and continued to advance will really lose their lives here. Just thinking about the eight-legged bright scorpion's lair, one could imagine that the number of eight-legged bright scorpions would be extremely shocking. There was no other outcome other than death for a mere dozen people. We'll wait here. If those guys come back, we'll throw them back. Di Beichen's eyes were cold as he said in a deep voice. Ao Lingxiao glanced at Di Beichen and said, then we have to pay attention to the time. If those guys provoke the eight-legged bright scorpions, we have to do our best to escape. Okay. Not long after, Di Beichen and the others heard a cry of surprise from the front. This cry was filled with fear and shock, followed by the fluctuations of a battle. Seeing this, Di Beichen and the others narrowed their eyes. It seemed that the situation was exactly as they had expected. The three of them quietly listened to the fluctuations of the battle. Di Beichen's thin lips opened slightly. These people are really doomed. That was because the ripples from the battle were constantly decreasing, which meant that more and more cultivators were dying. The more cultivators died, the greater the pressure on the remaining cultivators. In this situation, other than trying their best to stall for time, there was nothing they could do to change the final outcome. There's always a price to pay for trying to be a hero. Ao Lingxiao's lips curled into a mocking smile. He usually felt that this kind of guy was the stupidest. At this time, a burst of chaotic and hurried footsteps came from the front. Di Beichen and the other two looked at each other, and the light in their eyes suddenly changed. On their faces, there was a cold and chilling smile. Damn it, these eight-legged bright scorpions are actually so fast. Our movements were already concealed enough, but we were still discovered at the first moment. Xue Changdong was running at the front of the group. He was very depressed. He deliberately chased after them to see if Di Beichen and the others were in front, but he didn't expect to attract the attention of the eight-legged bright scorpions. These guys were extremely sharp. Although they were walking beasts, their speed was still very shocking. If they couldn't shake off the eight-legged bright scorpions, it would also bring them great trouble. Most importantly, he didn't see Di Beichen and the others. I wonder where Di Beichen and the others went. We didn't see them at all. Chapter 36-33. I wonder if these guys. While Xue Changdong was speaking, three figures suddenly appeared in front of them. Weren't they Di Beichen and the other two that they were looking for? The three of them are there. At the same time, Fang Tianyi and the others also noticed Di Beichen and the other two. Their faces suddenly turned pale and complicated, and they could not help but feel guilty. Why are they here? We clearly didn't see them before. For a moment, everyone in the team felt a little complicated. Logically speaking, Di Beichen and the others should not have noticed their existence. However, looking at the appearance of Di Beichen and the other two, they actually felt like they had been seen through. If the other party had not seen through them, they would not be standing in front of them so aggressively at this moment. Xue Changdong could not help but be stunned. Thousands of thoughts ran through his mind, and countless ideas appeared in an instant. In the end, he still held on to a fluke mentality and shouted at Di Beichen and the others, "There are eight-legged bright scorpions behind us. Let's leave quickly." He only hoped that Di Beichen and the others had not seen through their conspiracy. As long as Di Beichen and the other two did not know, then they would still have a chance to make a move in the future. "There are eight-legged bright scorpions behind us." Ziren pretended to panic. "Are there a lot of them?" Looking at Ziren's surprised look, Xue Changdong could not help but feel happy. He then nodded and said, "There are a lot of them. Once we are surrounded, we will lose our lives. Let's quickly find other cultivators to join up with." "So there are a lot of eight-legged bright scorpions," Di Beichen said slowly. He lowered his head slightly, and the corner of his lips suddenly raised into a charming arc. He chuckled. When he raised his head again, his deep and charming eyes suddenly bloomed with a bright light, and his voice followed, "In that case, I am relieved." Xue Changdong and the others looked at Di Beichen in confusion. They did not understand what Di Beichen meant at all. However, in the next second, they understood. Di Beichen and the other two's figures suddenly turned into a bolt of lightning, and without any explanation, directly approached them. Seeing this, Xue Changdong and the others could not help but panic. At this point, anyone could feel that the situation was not right. However, they did not understand. Were Di Beichen and the other two not afraid of danger? The eight-legged bright scorpions were not far from where they were, but they still dared to stay here and not leave. The idea of Di Beichen and the others was very simple. They would unexpectedly give the opponent a blow. They didn't need to be fatal, they just needed to throw the opponent to a place close to the eight-legged bright scorpion. In this way, they didn't need to spend too much effort. These eight-footed bright scorpions could help them solve this problem. Bang bang bang. Di Beichen and the other two were extremely fast. Before the other party could react, they had already begun to attack. In just a moment, 3 of the other party's members were kicked to the back. The three of them were ambushed, and their brains could not react for a moment. However, in the process of flying, they also understood what kind of situation they would be in when they landed. Immediately, their faces flashed with intense panic. No! Frightened and terrified voices rang out in the air, causing Xue Changdong and the others to be even more shocked. Chapter 36-34. At this moment, Xue Changdong was certain that Di Beichen and the others were aware of their scheme, which was why they did what they did. Di Beichen, the eight-legged bright scorpion, is not far behind us. If you fight with us now, it won't be beneficial to you or us. Xue Changdong looked at Di Beichen in front of him and felt a little nervous. He suddenly felt that Di Beichen was a complete madman. The current situation was extremely dangerous. If they were not careful, all of them would die here. If it were him, even if the opponent was right in front of him, he would not risk his life to fight with the opponent. After all, he could lose his life at any time. Didn't you deliberately lead us here so that we could face the eight-legged bright scorpion? Isn't it good that I'm fulfilling your wish now? Di Beichen's thin lips curled slightly. It was a beautiful smile, but it made Xue Changdong's heart turn cold. He had miscalculated. He did not expect Di Beichen and the others to be so sharp. The other cultivators did not notice anything wrong, but Di Beichen and the other two did. From the moment they noticed, his plan had already failed, and he had also fallen into an extremely passive situation. He regretted it. If he had known that things would turn out like this, he would not have taken the risk for those benefits. Even if his status and strength in the outer hall was not bad, offending Di Beichen and the others would not end well. You're crazy. Xue Changdong could not help but curse. From Di Beichen's actions, he could tell that the other party wanted to keep him here forever, in this trap that he had designed himself. Faced with Xue Changdong's curses, Di Beichen was very indifferent. You should have known that you would not have a good ending by scheming against us. Since you deliberately planned to die at the hands of the eight-legged bright scorpion, I'll let you experience it. In the next moment, Di Beichen's attack arrived quickly, not giving his opponent any chance to escape. Originally, Ao Lingxiao had nothing to do with this plot. However, he was temporarily in the same team as Di Beichen and the others. Moreover, he was also involved in this plot. Naturally, he couldn't let it go so easily. Although he was always alone, many people knew that he didn't have a good temper. Otherwise, no one would have dared to provoke him for so long. With this move, Ao Lingxiao's strength was revealed. The cultivators in his hands were quickly kicked back to where the eight-legged bright scorpions were gathered. Feng Tianyi, let's join hands and get rid of this guy. Xue Changdong's expression was very ugly. His strength had already reached the 7th level of the Purple Realm. He originally thought that it wouldn't be difficult to deal with Di Beichen, but he didn't expect that Di Beichen had also broken through the 6th level of the Purple Realm. This was something he never knew. Thus, he felt that this battle was extremely difficult. He could only find helpers to help him. Otherwise, he might not be able to keep his life. Hearing Xue Changdong's words, Feng Tianyi also nodded. Okay. Looking at the two people in front of him, the frost in Di Beichen's eyes did not fade. He did not retreat at all and went up to greet them again. Bang, bang, bang. The three figures quickly tangled together. Even if one person was fighting two people, Di Beichen still did not fall into a disadvantage. Chapter 36-35. Bang! Di Beichen's fist landed heavily on Xue Changdong's chest. Suddenly suffering a heavy blow, Xue Changdong could not help but take 2 steps back, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his lips. Tasting the metallic taste in his mouth, Xue Changdong reached out and wiped the corner of his lips. After seeing the dark red bloodstain, his gaze turned gloomy. You really live up to your reputation. You're only at the 6th level of the Purple Realm, but you're still able to heavily injure me. Even though his expression was calm, the fear in Xue Changdong's eyes could not be dispelled. He already knew that Di Beichen had the ability to fight above his level, but he could not be sure if he did not fight with him personally. Now that he understood, he knew that if he continued to fight with Di Beichen like this, he would definitely not be able to leave safely. Since you've already heard about it, you should be wise not to seek trouble for yourself. Di Beichen's gaze was as cold as a knife, and his voice did not contain any warmth. There was no enmity between him and Xue Changdong, and it was not wise for Xue Changdong to accept benefits to seek trouble in this situation. Xue Changdong withdrew his gaze, and his pale face was filled with annoyance and regret. In the next moment, it suddenly turned into a sinister and resolute expression. My actions this time were indeed not wise enough, so I won't continue to entangle with you. As soon as he finished speaking, Xue Changdong directly grabbed Fang Tianyi, who was beside him, and suddenly threw him in the direction of Di Beichen. Then, he quickly fled to the other side. Looking at Fang Tianyi, who suddenly rushed towards him, Di Beichen flicked his long sword, lifted his right leg, and kicked Fang Tianyi to the back. Brother Xue. Fang Tianyi obviously did not expect that Xue Changdong, who had followed him for a long time, would suddenly betray him. He only understood when he was surrounded by the 8-legged bright scorpions. However, it was too late when he realized this. Xue Changdong's figure had already disappeared without a trace, and the densely packed 8-legged bright scorpions around him made him understand that he would definitely be buried in the belly of these beasts today. Di Beichen turned around and saw Xue Changdong's figure quickly disappearing from his sight. He could not help but frown. He did not expect Xue Changdong to betray his teammate so easily. Beichen, the 8-legged bright scorpions are very close to us. Let's leave quickly. If we continue to stay here, we'll be in danger ourselves. Wen Ziran walked to Di Beichen's side. Xue Changdong, this kind of guy, directly used his teammates as a scapegoat. I'm afraid no one will believe him in the future. Di Beichen nodded, let's go. When Ao Lingxiao heard their voices, he immediately turned around and left. The three of them flew away. When they left, they did not try to hide their speed at all. After seeing Ao Lingxiao's speed, Di Beichen and Wen Ziran were relieved. They immediately smiled and said, Ao Lingxiao, your speed is really not bad. They remembered that before Xue Changdong and the others returned, Di Beichen asked Ao Lingxiao about his speed. If speed was not Ao Lingxiao's forte, then they could not let Ao Lingxiao stay and take the risk. Chapter 36-36. Speed is the last resort for escaping. It doesn't matter if my combat power is a little weaker, but I have to be fast. Otherwise, if I can't even outrun others, what's the point? Ao Lingxiao raised his eyebrows. He was obviously very satisfied with his speed. Ziran, who was originally very impressed with Ao Lingxiao's speed, couldn't help but twitch his lips after hearing Ao Lingxiao's words. What you said really makes sense. Di Beichen chuckled. Brother Ao's words are different from others, but they are indeed very practical. If I wasn't good at speed, I'm afraid my life would have been lost. Ao Lingxiao's eyes flashed with a haze, but the smile on his lips suddenly had a hint of self-mockery. Di Beichen and Ziran looked at each other. Ao Lingxiao's appearance clearly showed that he was thinking of the past, and his words were also emotional. Thinking about it, the reason why Ao Lingxiao became like this probably had a lot to do with his past experiences. Ever since she couldn't see Di Beichen and the other two's figures, Bailey Hongzhuang was a little uneasy. Sheng Guanying didn't care too much about it, but after being affected by Bailey Hongzhuang's mood, she couldn't help but worry. Let's go over there and take a look. The number of cultivators there seems to have decreased a lot. Bailey Hongzhuang pointed ahead and said to Sheng Guanying beside her. Okay. They didn't know anyone in the female team, and everyone didn't care about their actions. Therefore, no one cared about them leaving the team. However, not long after the two walked out, they suddenly saw a figure quickly rushing in their direction. After taking a closer look, they realized that this person was Xue Changdong. Xue Changdong was obviously a little surprised after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang, but when he thought about Di Beichen and the other twos behind him, he quickly rushed over. His plot had been exposed. If he was caught by the other side, with Bailey Hongzhuang's usual style of doing things, he would probably lose his life here. Wasn't it Xue Changdong who left just now? Shengguan Yingying's face was filled with surprise. He should be with his teammates. Why is he alone now? It's really strange. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head. I don't know. She didn't have any feelings for Xue Changdong, and after hearing Ao Lingxiao's evaluation of Xue Changdong, she didn't like this person. But from his face is panicked, Shengguan Yingying, and Shengguan Yingying. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was thinking, Baisher's voice suddenly sounded. Master, Di Beichen's aura is approaching, and there are many eight-legged scorpions behind them. As Baisher's voice fell, Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly surprised. A lot of eight-legged scorpions? White Lion nodded. All of them are eight-legged bright scorpions. Perhaps this is their nest. As a beast king, Shengguan Yingying was very sensitive to the aura of monsters. Are Beichen and the rest in danger? Bailey Hongzhuang quickly asked. No wonder she always had a feeling of uneasiness in her heart. Beichen and the others were really in danger. Chapter 36-37. Roar. In the next moment, White Lion let out a loud roar. The loud roar seemed to shake the entire island. Immediately after, the 8-footed bright scorpions and 6-footed bright scorpions on the new island couldn't help but cry out. However, their voices were filled with obvious fear. The might of a beast king was something that all demonic beasts had to submit to. Di Beichen, who was quickly escaping, couldn't help but light up when he heard the familiar beast roar. That's Baisher's voice. Hongzhuang and the rest should be in front. When Xiren nodded his head, his gentle and jade-like face flashing with a happy luster, they should be looking for us. After hearing Di Beichen and Shengguan Ying's conversation, Ao Lingxiao's face couldn't help but reveal a look of astonishment. This was because he realized that after the roar, the 8-footed bright scorpions that were chasing after them suddenly stopped in their tracks. From the looks of it, they were clearly afraid. The 8-footed bright scorpions were Purple Realm Level 6 demonic beasts. Among the many demonic beasts, the 8-footed bright scorpions were considered to be of an extremely high level. The demonic beast that could make the 8-footed bright scorpions feel fear must be of an extremely high level. Although Master Long had given them decent demonic beasts, these demonic beasts were still young and obviously couldn't have such power. As such, there was only one possibility left, Bailey Hongzhuang's demonic beast. The demonic beast that looked like a lion and a tiger was extremely famous in the Outer Palace. In the battle back then, this demonic beast's performance was extremely shocking. Therefore, all the disciples in the Outer Palace knew that Bailey Hongzhuang had a demonic beast that was extremely powerful. However, from the current situation, everyone seemed to have underestimated this demonic beast. Bailey Hongzhuang and Shengguan Yingying walked forward. Not long after, they saw 3 figures that were flying towards them. After seeing their faces clearly, the 2 of them couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. Following that, a smile appeared on their faces. Beichen, you're back, Bailey Hongzhuang called out softly, her gentle voice full of affection. Di Beichen nodded slightly and walked quickly to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. His broad and slender hands were already holding the latter's slender and fair hand. Why are there only the 2 of you? Aren't you with the team behind you? Hongzhuang was very worried about your safety when she saw you missing, so we left the team to look for you, Shengguan Yingying said. So that's how it is. Di Beichen and the other two suddenly understood. Bailey Hongzhuang looked up at Di Beichen and frowned. I heard from Baisher that you were being chased by the eight-legged bright scorpion and barged into its lair. This is a conspiracy, Di Beichen said slowly. Have you seen Shui Changdong? Hearing that, Bailey Hongzhuang and Shangguan Yingying looked at each other. Just now, we saw Shui Changdong running out in a panic. After seeing us, he was stunned for a moment and then disappeared. The reason why we were chased by the eight-legged bright scorpion was because we fell into Shui Changdong's trap. Xiren sighed. However, this guy didn't get anything good out of it. His teammates have all fallen. What do you mean? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes darkened. We don't have any grudges with Shui Changdong. Why would he find trouble with you? Chapter 36-38. The group of 5 continued to move forward until they found a safe place before stopping. At the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang and Shangguan Yingying also understood the reasons behind this. In that case, the person who sent Shui Changdong should be Duan Huali. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes revealed a trace of coldness, and her clear and bright phoenix eyes were quietly covered with a layer of haze. Di Beichen nodded. Other than him, I can't think of any other possible candidates. Shui Changdong is already an outstanding person in the outer hall. It's almost impossible for the cultivators in the outer hall to order him around. Only the disciples of the inner hall can do this. Even though they didn't get a definite answer from Shui Changdong, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other 3 were already incomparably certain. They knew very few people in the entire inner hall. Speaking of opponents, only Duan Huali was their opponent. Moreover, Shui Changdong only wanted to kill Di Beichen and Wen Xiren this time, but he left Bailey Hongzhuang and Shangguan Yingying behind. His intention couldn't be more obvious. This Duan Huali, I've already made it very clear before. I didn't expect him to still be so persistent. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned, and her beautiful and delicate face was filled with disgust. From the first time she saw Duan Huali, she felt that this person was arrogant and conceited. It was really difficult to leave a good impression on others. Duan Huali's intentions were also very obvious, but she clearly rejected them. Later, when they were in the outer hall, they didn't see Duan Huali causing any trouble, so she didn't take this matter too seriously. She didn't expect that Duan Huali would actually find Duan Huali to deal with them. This move was really well planned. If Duan Huali himself appeared, they would definitely be on guard. However, Duan Huali found someone who had no enmity with them to do this, so they wouldn't think of this point. In this way, the success rate would be greatly increased. If it weren't for Di Beichen and the other 2's intuition today, they would have fallen into this trap. In my opinion, Duan Huali's actions are not only for you, but also because he hates Beichen. Last time at the teleportation array, Beichen didn't give him any face. Xiren pondered and said. Shangguan Yingying secretly said, this Duan Huali is really despicable. Ao, who originally didn't understand the situation, I didn't expect it, this person is actually Duan Huali, this person is quite a bit of the inner hall, so what if he has some strength? Since he took the initiative to find trouble, we won't be afraid. Xiren didn't mind. Based on the current situation, Duan Huali was indeed stronger than them. However, along the way, most of the cultivators who died at their hands were stronger than them. Ao Lingxiao waved his hand, I didn't say you would be afraid, but it will be more troublesome to deal with. However, since this guy came up with such a sneaky plan, he doesn't want to make a move openly. You still have a lot of time to slowly deal with this matter. Now that that guy Shui Changdong ran away, I think he won't dare to appear in front of us again. Xiren shrugged, it's best if I don't see him, otherwise I will teach him a lesson. Chapter 36-39. For the next few days, Bailey Hongzhuang's group of 5 hunted monster beasts on this new island. Just as everyone had predicted, after the 6-footed bright scorpions were killed, only the 8-footed bright scorpions appeared. Therefore, everyone's clearing speed slowed down, and the number of cultivators who died and were injured continued to increase. During this time, they also tried to find Xue Changdong's figure, but Xue Changdong seemed to have disappeared, and they couldn't even find a trace of him. We haven't heard any news about Xue Changdong these past few days. Could he have left this new island? Shangguan Yingying frowned. Bailey Hongzhuang muttered, "It's very likely, if he is still on this new island, once we find him, we will definitely not show mercy. Now that he is alone and has no helpers, he definitely won't dare to face us, so leaving is the best choice. I'm afraid he has already gone to Duan Huali to seek his protection." Di Beichen's low and magnetic voice suddenly sounded, and Bailey Hongzhuang and the others heard it. As soon as these words came out, everyone couldn't help but look at each other. This was indeed the most likely situation. After Xue Changdong escaped, he immediately left the new island. Ever since he really fought with Di Beichen, he understood that he was not their opponent at all. Now that his teammates of many years had died, he was the only one left, and he didn't dare to continue to stay on this island. He didn't expect that the plan that he thought was foolproof would fail like this, and at this moment, he was even more regretful. Thinking about the current situation, he really went for wool and came back shorn. The most important thing was that in the future, it would be very difficult for him to not encounter Di Beichen and the others in the outer hall. Li Xingkai and the others had offended Di Beichen and the others before, and as a result, they were directly killed in front of Master Long. He was really worried that Di Beichen and the others would come back and attack again like before, then he didn't have the confidence to survive. The only thing he could do now was to look for Peng Kairue. Only if Peng Kairue was willing to protect him would he be able to continue staying in the outer hall. Otherwise, he would most likely die. Ever since Peng Kairue and Duan Huali had given this task to Xue Changdong, they hadn't been in a hurry to go to the training grounds. Instead, they had been staying in the inner hall, waiting for news. On this day, when Peng Kairue saw Xue Changdong appear, a hint of joy appeared on his face. Presumably, Xue Changdong had come to tell him the good news. However, as Xue Changdong gradually approached and he saw Xue Changdong's expression, he felt that something was wrong. Senior brother Peng. When Xue Changdong saw Peng Kairue, he felt as if he had seen his own family. I wasn't able to complete my mission successfully this time. Hearing this, the look in Peng Kairue's eyes changed a little. He continued, "What exactly is going on? I still underestimated the strength of Di Beichen and the others." Xue Changdong slowly told Peng Kairue everything that had happened. This was originally a foolproof plan, but I didn't expect them to see through it. Now, my teammates are all dead, and I'm the only one who returned. Chapter 3640. After understanding all this, Peng Kairue's frown deepened. "Do they know that I ordered you to do this?" "No." Xue Changdong shook his head. "Senior brother Peng, don't worry. No matter what, I won't betray you. Although they have found out that I did it, I didn't reveal any information about you and senior brother Duan from the beginning to the end. They definitely don't know." As he spoke, Xue Changdong also looked at Peng Kairue's expression. He knew very well that if he revealed any information about Peng Kairue would never let him go easily. Therefore, he couldn't reveal anything no matter what. Hearing Xue Changdong's answer, Peng Kairue's expression became better. When he decided to take action against Di Beichen and the others, he was very worried. After all, if Di Beichen and the others knew that he was the one who arranged this matter, it would be tantamount to offending Master Long. The reason why he decided to take action in the end was undoubtedly that he was hoping for a fluke. As long as he got Shangguan Yingying, he could use this relationship to get close to Master Long. Therefore, This matter must be carried out without leaving any traces. Fortunately, although Xue Changdong was discovered by Di Beichen and the others, at least he didn't reveal any information about her. That's good. Senior Brother Peng, now that Di Beichen and the others know about me, once they come back from the training ground, they will definitely find trouble with me. With my current strength, I'm no match for them at all. You must help me. Xue Changdong's face couldn't hide the nervousness on his face. Ever since he fought with Di Beichen, he understood how powerful the latter was. Now that he was the only one left, if Di Beichen wanted to take his life, it would definitely be a piece of cake. It wasn't easy for him to get to where he was now, he didn't want to lose his life just like that. Peng Kairui glanced at Xue Changdong, then smiled and said, I know. If they really find trouble with you, I will definitely protect you. You don't have to worry. Thank you very much, Senior Brother Peng. Xue Changdong was overjoyed in his heart. His heart immediately calmed down, and he let out a sigh of relief. From the looks of it, the past 2 days have probably been extremely difficult for you. All of your teammates have fallen. Your days in the outer palace will probably not be as comfortable as before, said Peng Kairui slowly. Alas! Xue Changdong sighed, and his expression was extremely gloomy. Indeed, who would have thought that it would end up like this? If he could, he really wished that he could turn back time. If he had known that this would be the outcome, he would never have agreed to Peng Kairui's request. After losing so many teammates, his future development would be much more difficult. He might even have to join other teams. In this way, he naturally couldn't be the captain, and the distribution of benefits would be greatly reduced. Unfortunately, there was no medicine for regret in this world. No matter how regretful he was, he couldn't show it on his face. Forget it. The reason you ended up in this situation is because of us. Come with me. I will go to the house to get some cultivation resources for you. Consider this my compensation to you. Peng Kairui shook his head and sighed. Chapter 36-41. Thank you, Senior Brother Peng. Xue Changdong thanked him again and again. His original disappointment and sadness dissipated a lot at this moment. Peng Kairui smiled faintly, it's no problem. You've helped me a lot in the outer hall over the years. Now that you've fallen into such a situation, I don't feel good. Senior Brother Peng, you've been taking care of me all these years. You don't have to be so polite. Xue Changdong's eyes flashed with sincerity. He had indeed helped Peng Kairui and Duan Huali a lot over the years. Duan Huali was a veteran in the field of flowers. Once he took a fancy to any woman in the outer palace, as long as the other party was unwilling to submit obediently, he would often help. However, the remuneration that Peng Kairui and the others gave him was also very good, so this cooperative relationship had always been maintained. It was because of this that he finally chose to agree to this matter after thinking about it for a long time. After all, he didn't want to break off his cooperative relationship with Duan Huali and the others. Now that he saw that Peng Kairui could still treat him with such an attitude in such a situation, he couldn't help but feel touched. His previous actions were worth it. However, Xue Changdong didn't notice that when Peng Kairui turned around, his eyes flashed with malice and viciousness. When Peng Kairui came to Duan Huali's room, his mood was very complicated. Duan Huali, this matter didn't go as smoothly as you and I expected. As soon as he entered the door, Peng Kairui went straight to the point. Hearing this, Duan Huali couldn't help but frown. What? Xue Changdong couldn't get rid of them. Peng Kairui nodded, that's right. Not only did he not get rid of Di Beichen, but he was also discovered. What? Duan Huali's face suddenly became serious. You said Xue Changdong was discovered. Then, did he mention the two of us? Don't worry, he didn't. Peng Kairui said slowly, I've already dealt with Xue Changdong. He won't have a chance to speak again. As Peng Kairoi's voice fell, Duan Huali breathed a sigh of relief and said, "You did well. This news can't be leaked. It won't do us any good." "Are you sure that Xue Changdong didn't say anything before?" "I'm sure." Peng Kairui replied, "Xue Changdong is not a fool. He naturally knows that if he offends us, it will only be more disadvantageous for him." "That's good." Duan Huali nodded. "I didn't expect Xue Changdong to handle things so badly this time. In the past, his methods were not bad. How could he be discovered this time? The scheme that Xue Changdong came up with wasn't bad, but we still underestimated the sensitivity of Di Beichen and the others. In my opinion, since Di Beichen and the others were chosen by Master Long, it means that their strength is indeed not simple. Now that Xue Changdong has been defeated, our previous plan can no longer be carried out. In my opinion, it's better to drop this matter for the time being and see how it goes in the future." Peng Kairui's expression was very complicated. Xue Changdong's strength in the outer hall was already very good, but even he didn't succeed. If they found other cultivators, the success rate wouldn't be much higher. On the contrary, Kumeng was discovered. Chapter 36-42. It's just a failure. Are you going to give up just like that? Duan Huali's eyes were covered with a layer of haze as his deep voice was filled with unwillingness. Aren't you a little too cowardly? If we don't succeed this time, we can try again next time. It's only the lives of 2 outer palace disciples. It's absolutely not a difficult task. As long as he thought of Di Beichen's attitude towards him before, Duan Huali felt that he could not take this lying down. Especially when he heard that the reason why Xue Changdong's plan was discovered this time was because Di Beichen's reaction was too sharp, he felt even more unhappy. He just wanted to trample on Di Beichen and let this guy know the immensity of heaven and earth. He never thought that this matter would instead show Di Beichen's power, which undoubtedly made his resentment bottled up in his chest and unable to be vented. That young guy's cultivation was obviously not as good as his, but he still dared to put on an arrogant attitude in front of him and did not care about his face in front of everyone. If he did not teach Di Beichen a good lesson, how could he feel at ease? Therefore, he wanted to kill Di Beichen and take away Di Beichen's woman. Only in this way could he vent his anger. Looking at Duan Huali's unwilling look, Peng Kairui's idea was very firm. If they had no background, it would be fine. But they have Master Long behind them. I don't want to get into such trouble again. If you want to continue, you can continue. I will not reveal half a word, but I will not participate in this matter. Peng Kairui's expression was firm. He did not have enough confidence in this matter. Now that things had turned out like this, he naturally did not want to continue. The most important thing was that after listening to Xue Changdong tell him all the details about the matter, he felt more and more that Di Beichen and others were powerful. Lord Long had been in Penglai Palace for so many years, but he had never shown any appreciation for cultivators. But now, he appreciated Bailey Hongzhuang and the other 3 so much. This alone showed that they were not ordinary. Previously, he didn't want to believe this, but now he had no choice but to believe it. He believed that there was no benefit in continuing to be enemies with Di Beichen and the others. Once they achieved good results in the inner palace in the future, he would be the unlucky one. Since that was the case, he might as well stop as soon as possible. At least the situation wasn't too serious. Have you really made your decision? Duan Huali asked in a deep voice. That's right, I've made my decision. Peng Kairui replied, Duan Huali, I don't think these guys are easy to deal with. Why don't you stop? It's not too late to stop now. Duan Huali couldn't help but laugh coldly when he heard this, and his gaze grew even gloomier. Could it be that you think everyone is as useless as you? I'll definitely do what I say. They're just outer palace disciples. Do you think I can't teach them a lesson? Seeing that Duan Huali still had no intention of stopping, although Penkairue was a little helpless, he didn't say anything more. He and Duan Huali had known each other for so many years, and he knew the latter's temperament very well. Chapter 36-43. Di Bei Chen's group stayed on the new island for a while, until all the eight-legged bright scorpions on the new island were killed before they returned to the Penglai Palace. Most of the cultivators who went to the new island waited until now to return because the points gained from killing the eight-legged bright scorpions were much higher than ordinary monsters. Just the harvest from this period of time was enough for them to go to the resource room to exchange for some cultivation resources they needed. After fighting with the eight-legged bright scorpions for such a long time, my strength has improved a little. There was a faint smile on Wen Xiren's face. After we go back this time, I have to relax. Why don't we order a pot of wine and some side dishes when we go back and reward ourselves? Di Beichen's lips slowly curved into a faint smile, his voice as gentle as the spring breeze. Sure, after returning, we will rest for a few days. During these few days, you can relax however you want. Until now, I still feel that the number of eight-legged bright scorpions is too shocking. Recently, I even feel like I'm dreaming about them. Shengguan shook her head. Fortunately, we don't have to see these eight-legged bright scorpions for a while. After returning, let's have a good rest for a while. We can also go to the resource room to see if there are any treasures that can help our cultivation. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved slightly. The most important thing for them now was to improve their cultivation. Shengguan nodded. Sure, I'm also very interested in the Penglai Palace's resource room. Master, we haven't seen Xue Changdong for a while. We don't know where that guy is hiding. If we return to the outer palace and see Xue Changdong, what do you plan to do? Xiao He looked up at Bailey Hongzhuang. During the days when they were dealing with the eight-legged bright scorpions, they had not heard anyone mention Xue Changdong. Xue Changdong must have run away. If we meet. Bailey Hongzhuang's cherry-red lips curled up as a cold light flashed across her clear eyes, then we'll naturally let him know the price he has to pay for offending us. Blood for blood. From the moment Xue Changdong intended to take the lives of Di Beichen and the others, the two sides were already in an irreconcilable situation. When Ao Ling Xiao heard the murderous intent in Bailey Hongzhuang's words, he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows slightly. Sure enough, none of the four people in this group were simple. They were all decisive in their actions, without the slightest hesitation. However, this kind of personality was also what he liked. After returning from the training ground, Ren Ziheng's group immediately went to look for Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. However, they were informed that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had gone to the training ground and had yet to return. Seeing this, they stayed in the inner hall and waited for Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest to return. This time, Bailey Hongzhuang's healing medicine had given them too much of a shock. If they didn't have a good discussion with Bailey Hongzhuang about the medicine, they wouldn't be able to relax. However, they never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others would leave for such a long time. Chapter 36-44. A new island has appeared in the training grounds of the Outer Palace disciples this time. Most of the Outer Palace disciples have gone there to train. Every time a new island appears, the rewards for hunting monsters are very rich. It's normal that they haven't returned yet. Ren Ziheng looked very indifferent, and there was not the slightest anxiety between his brows. Weren't we like this when we were in the Outer Palace? If I'm not wrong, I'm afraid they will wait until the new island is completely cleaned up before returning. Listening to Ren Ziheng's words, Ren Zimei also nodded. That's right, the appearance of a new island is a good opportunity to earn points. Speaking of which, junior sister Bailey's luck is also very good. This is only the first time they have gone to a training ground, and they already encountered such an opportunity. If they take advantage of this opportunity to earn more points in exchange for some treasures that are helpful for their cultivation, it will be worth it. That's true. Chu Jinfeng smiled faintly, but I heard that the monster that appeared on the new island this time is the eight-legged bright scorpion. This monster's combat power is not weak. I just hope they can return safely. The three of them looked at each other. Every time they went out to gain experience, there was always danger. Every time they went out to gain experience, their lives were on the line. No one knew if they would be able to come back alive the next time. Fortunately, they also knew that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were strong. Although the eight-legged bright scorpion's combat power was not weak, with their strength, they should not be in too much danger. Just as Ren Ziheng and the others were talking and walking towards the inner palace, suddenly, four familiar figures appeared not far away. Seeing these four figures, a smile immediately appeared on Ren Ziheng and the other two's faces. Junior brother D, junior brother Wen, you're back. Di Beichen and the others did not expect to see Ren Ziheng and the others as soon as they came back. They immediately smiled and said, Senior brother Ren, senior brother Chu, what a coincidence. I didn't expect to meet you as soon as we came back. It's not that coincidental. We came here specially to find you. We just went to your residence and saw that you didn't come back, so we prepared to go back. We didn't expect to meet you halfway. Chu Jinfeng smiled, looking at you, you must have gained a lot from this training, right? How can our gains be compared to you as inner palace disciples? Xiren raised his eyebrows and smiled faintly, but we encountered a new island this time, so our gains are not small. By the way, senior brother Ren. Di Beichen asked slowly. There are indeed some things. Ren Ziheng nodded, but when he spoke, he couldn't help but look at Ao Ling Xiao. He didn't know what the relationship between Ao Ling Xiao and Bailey Hongzhuang was. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others glanced at Ao Ling Xiao and nodded. As for Ao Ling Xiao, they currently didn't know how to view him. Chapter 36-45. After Ao Ling Xiao left, Ren Ziheng smiled and said, You must be tired after training outside for so many days. Why don't we go to a restaurant and have a drink? Di Beichen nodded and smiled, sure. However, when Di Beichen and the others arrived at the restaurant, they found many familiar figures in the restaurant, such as Jing Tianlang. Jing Tianlang could not help but welcome Ren Ziheng and the others when he saw them. Junior brother Di, I didn't expect to see you again. Did you come out to eat with Ren Ziheng and the others? That's right. We just happened to run into each other, so we agreed to have a drink here. Senior brother Jing, why are you here alone? Di Beichen glanced at Jing Tianlang's side. It seemed that he was the only one eating here. He was a little surprised. Jing Tianlang smiled and waved his hand, I just happened to want to improve my food, so I came here. With that, Jing Tianlang pulled Ren Ziheng to his side and whispered, Ren Ziheng, I've been waiting here for quite a few days now, but I haven't seen the young man you speak of. Have you seen him again? I didn't see him either. Ren Ziheng shook his head helplessly, I think he must have an extraordinary identity. I only met him by chance last time. I don't think he would show up here for no reason. Sigh. Jing Tianlang sighed, it's such a pity that you missed such a great opportunity. I came to this restaurant again today in hopes of meeting him again, but I know that it won't be so easy. Ren Ziheng's face was full of worry, as if he regretted missing such an opportunity. Seeing this, Jing Tianlang could not help but pat Ren Ziheng's shoulder, since that young man is so capable, I believe he'll be famous in the future. On the side, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at Jing Tianlang and Ren Ziheng's strange appearance, and their eyes couldn't help but flash with deep doubts. What's going on? Why are you acting so mysterious? It's like you've encountered something you regret in your life. Ziren raised his eyebrows and looked at Renzime and Chu Jinfeng. Renzime and Chu Jinfeng found it very interesting. Ren Ziheng's expression was very realistic when he was bluffing. If they did not know the truth, they would have been fooled by Ren Ziheng as well. You'll find out soon. Chu Jinfeng whispered to Ziren, "This is why we called you here." Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could not help but look at each other, but they were even more confused. Ever since their last training, they did not have any contact with Jing Tianlang. Logically speaking, they should not have anything to do with what Jing Tianlang's story. Not only that, they were clearly in front of them, they were also whispering to each other as they were also whispering. Ren Ziheng and Jing Tianlang only spoke for a short while before Jing Tianlang left, and Bailey Hongzhuang and the others entered the private room. Senior Brother Chu, what did you mean by what you said just now? Why do I not understand what you're saying? As soon as he entered the private room, when Ziren asked the question in his heart. Chu Jinfeng smiled, it all started with the healing medicine that junior sister Bailey gave us. Chapter 36-46. Junior Sister Bailey, you really can't judge a book by its cover. Previously, when we received your healing medicine, we didn't think much of it, but now it seems that we really had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. I never thought that your medical skills would be so good, it has really exceeded our expectations. Ren Zime looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a face full of amazement. Thinking back to when she had first met Bailey Hongzhuang, she had only thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was really a beautiful vase, but after interacting with Bailey Hongzhuang, she discovered that Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't just strong, even her medical skills were incomparable to many other doctors, causing her admiration in her heart to grow stronger and stronger. To be able to have so many abilities at such a young age, how could one not be amazed? That's right, if I hadn't used the healing medicine you gave me at the critical moment, I wouldn't have been able to make it back alive this time. Ren Ziheng's eyes were filled with sincerity and gratitude. Junior Sister Bailey, this time you've saved my life again. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faint smile, her voice gentle and clear, Senior Brother Ren is too polite. My big brother is speaking the truth, his injuries were very serious at that time and we didn't know what to do, but we suddenly remembered the healing medicine you gave us. I didn't think that the healing medicine would be so effective. It was even more effective in restraining the power of darkness than the healing medicine sold in the Devil Training Tower. It was because of this that my big brother was able to keep his life. Junior Sister Bailey, this time we really have to thank you. Ren Zime suddenly stood up and bowed deeply to Bailey Hongzhuang. Junior Sister Bailey, many thanks. Seeing Ren Zime's serious expression, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but stand up and say, Senior Sister Ren, you're too polite. We're friends, this is nothing. Although you think it's nothing, it's still a great debt to us. Ren Zime's expression was resolute. Junior Sister Bailey, we still owe you a favor. In the future, if there is anything you need us to do, just say the word and we will definitely not refuse. Upon seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but look at Di Beichen beside her. Di Beichen quietly nodded and said, Hongzhuang, this is Senior Brother Ren and Senior Sister Ren's gratitude. If you don't accept it, I'm afraid they won't be able to let it go. That's right. Ren Ziheng nodded. We siblings have always been grateful people. Then, all right. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and said, we are all friends. No matter who is in danger in the future, we will help each other. Why are you suddenly so serious? Let's all sit down. We won't know what's going on when the waiter comes and sees this scene, Ziren said. After Ziren broke the atmosphere, everyone chuckled and sat down. According to what you said before, Jing Tianlang should have come to you because he saw you using this healing medicine, so he asked about the origin of the medicine, right? His deep and serene eyes were filled with the light of wisdom. Although it was a question, Di Beichen's words were very certain. Seeing Di Beichen see through everything so quickly, Ren Ziheng's eyes could not help but flash with a touch of appreciation. That's right, that's it. Chapter 36-47. Chu Jinfeng shook his head, as if recalling the scene from before. His face was full of emotion. So you made up a story to deceive them? Di Beichen asked. Hearing Di Beichen's words, Ren Zimei's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. We haven't even said anything yet, how did you guess it? Di Beichen chuckled. It was already very strange that Jing Tianlang was so secretive. Moreover, Senior Chu said that this matter had something to do with us. After thinking about it, I really couldn't think of any other possibility. Ren Zimei looked deeply at Di Beichen. Even though Di Beichen's explanation was very reasonable, she still felt that Di Beichen was extraordinarily smart. At least with this short information, Di Beichen was able to connect all the dots. It was really extraordinary. This healing medicine was given to us by junior sister Bailey. As far as I know, you didn't seem to have told anyone about this healing medicine, so we couldn't leak this information without your permission. It's just that Jing Tianlang and the others were really too clingy and didn't want to give up at all. They even brought up their many years of friendship. We had no choice but to make up a story and tell them that we met a fated young master in this restaurant and obtained the healing medicine from him. However, we don't know anything else about that young master. Because of this, many inner palace disciples have been wandering around this restaurant recently in order to find the young master we talked about. However, it's obvious that they won't be able to find him. Ren Ziheng spread out his hands, his handsome face full of helplessness. In the previous situation, he really had no other choice. I see. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. I knew that the inner palace disciples were usually very busy. How could they have so much free time to gather around this restaurant? Speaking of which, junior sister Bailey, I really admire your medical skills to the point of prostrating myself before you. Chu Jinfeng looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in amazement. You don't know, but when we saw the effects of your healing medicine, almost all of us were dumbfounded. It's just too unbelievable. The 100 Flowers Gate has been researching healing medicine that can suppress the power of darkness for many years, but after so long, there hasn't been any progress. Only the healing medicine that the Demon Training Tower made a few days ago has a certain effect, but it still can't compare to your healing medicine. Just how did you make it? Ren Zimei nodded repeatedly. That's right. When the Demon Training Tower took out that healing medicine, we felt that the other party was definitely a genius. However, compared to you, she can't be considered a genius. You're so young. I think that even if we spread the news before, no one would believe us. Hearing Ren Zimei's words, Sheng Wanningying couldn't help but laugh. You don't know, but Hongzhuang's medical skills have always been praised. In the outside world, Hongzhuang's medical skills were also very famous. I see. Ren Ziheng's eyes gradually changed, looking at Bailey Hongzhuang with even more amazement. Chapter 36-48. Following Chu Jinfeng's words, Ren Ziheng, Ren Zimei, and Chu Jinfeng stared at Bailey Hongzhuang without blinking. They were very curious about this result. After all, based on Bailey Hongzhuang's performance in the training grounds, it should be their first time understanding the power of darkness. However, Bailey Hongzhuang had only stayed there for half a month. If it was so easy for her to concoct such an effective healing medicine, it would be too unbelievable. However, other than this possibility, they could not think of any other. Faced with the three pairs of staring eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was rather awkward. She then nodded as the three of them stared at her in shock. That's right. After studying the power of darkness in the training grounds, I gained some understanding of it. When I returned, I concocted this healing medicine. Clatter. Chu Jinfeng dropped his chopsticks. Clang. Ren Ziheng dropped the wine glass in his hand as well. Shangguan Yingying stared at Bailey Hongzhuang in silence. Her mouth was agape and she still had a look of disbelief on her face. Although they had already guessed this possibility before, when Bailey Hongzhuang admitted it so calmly, they still felt that it was a little difficult to accept. After all, this healing medicine was something that many doctors could not concoct. However, Bailey Hongzhuang said it so casually as if she had done something very normal. There was nothing special about it at all. However, this was clearly an incredible result. The three of them stared blankly at Bailey Hongzhuang for a long while until Di Beichen's voice rang out. Only then did they return to their senses. Senior Brother Ren, Senior Brother Chu, if you were to stare at my wife like that, those who didn't know better would think that you have some ulterior motives. Di Beichen joked. Ren Ziheng and Chu Jinfeng were slightly stunned. Then, they smiled awkwardly and said, "We were just too shocked. We did not expect Junior Sister Bailey's medical skills to be so amazing. We have underestimated Junior Sister Bailey's abilities. Junior Sister Bailey, if you tell anyone about this healing medicine, I'm afraid that even the genius doctor from the Demon Training Tower will not be able to compare to you." Ren Zimei could not help but say. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up slightly. A bright and elegant smile bloomed on her face. "To be honest, the doctor from the Demon Training Tower that you're talking about is me. It's me. It's me." Ren and the others had just recovered from their shock. They were dumbfounded when they heard Bailey Hongzhuang's words. "What? What did you say?" Shangguan Yingying's eyes widened. She suspected that she had misheard. "You said that the doctor in the Demon Training Tower was you?" Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. "That's right, it's me. I came from the Demon Training Tower before. We were originally planning to return to the Demon Training Tower, but we met Master Long and were invited back." "Wait, give me some time to think." Chu Jinfeng stretched out his hand and stopped Bailey Hongzhuang from continuing. He muttered, "You're the genius doctor from the Demon Training Tower, so the healing medicine from before was also concocted by you?" "Yes." Bailey Hongzhuang said frankly. Now that things had come to this, it was not a secret that needed to be kept. There was no harm in saying it. Chapter 36-49. Ren Ziheng had never understood this point before. Since everyone knew that the healing medicine of the Magic Training Tower actually had a certain restraining effect on the dark power, this healing medicine began to be crazily snatched by everyone. As the most famous of the many islands, Penglai Island naturally occupied a large portion of the healing medicine. Even so, if they wanted to buy the healing medicine, they had to rush to buy it. However, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were just outer palace disciples, but they could have so many healing medicines. Most importantly, they were able to generously take out this healing medicine in front of a cultivator they had just met. From this, it could be seen that they did not value this healing medicine too much. Otherwise, they would not have taken it out so easily. If this healing medicine was originally made by Bailey Hongzhuang, then all of this would naturally be another explanation. Chu Jinfeng and Ren Zimei looked at each other. Before, Bailey Hongzhuang's healing medicine had already shocked them. They did not expect to learn about such a heavy bomb now. It was really surprising. "That's not right." Ren Zimei frowned. "Junior Sister Bailey, didn't you go to the Inner Palace Disciples Training Ground and see the dark power for the first time? Then how did you make that kind of healing medicine before?" As soon as these words came out, Chu Jinfeng and Ren Ziheng also reacted. This was indeed a problem. Bailey Hongzhuang took a sip of tea and smiled. "This is just a coincidence. Before coming to Penglai Palace, I did not know that the healing medicine I made before would have a restraining effect on the dark power. It was not until I went to the Inner Palace Disciples Training Ground that I saw everything with my own eyes that I understood. It was precisely because of this that I later added some medicinal herbs on the basis of the original healing medicine and adjusted the ratio of the medicinal herbs to improve the restraining effect on the dark power. So, the healing medicine you made before was not deliberately made to restrain the dark power, but accidentally discovered that it had such an effect? Chu Jinfeng could not help but raise his voice. The astonishment between his eyebrows had turned into a deep speechlessness. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Yes, I did not even know what the dark power was before. Naturally, it was impossible to make healing medicine for it. I really don't know what to say. Chu Jinfeng clicked his tongue. If the doctors of the 100 Flowers Gate knew that you accidentally made a healing medicine that they have not made for so many years, they would be so angry that they would vomit blood. Ren Ziheng and Ren Zimei had a look of agreement. I think so too. On the side, Di Beichen and the others had a faint smile on their faces. They were already very clear about Bailey Hongzhuang's medical skills. Not to mention, there were not many people in the Xingxian continent who had better medical skills than Bailey Hongzhuang. Speaking, Bailey Hongzhuang, Bailey Hongzhuang, Bailey Hongzhuang, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows rose slightly. She was very confident in the healing medicine she had concocted. The effect would definitely be better than the previous ones, but she still needed to know more about the specific situation. The main reason was that she had only been in contact with the power of darkness for a short period of time and did not fully understand its characteristics. Chapter 3650. In response to Bailey Hongzhuang's inquiry, Ren Ziheng and the other two naturally did not hide anything. They immediately explained the specific situation after using the healing medicine. Her dark and bright phoenix eyes were filled with a serious light. Bailey Hongzhuang carefully listened to their description of the situation, and in her heart, she was also secretly thinking about what she still needed to improve on the healing medicine that she had concocted. Until all of this was described, Ren Ziheng finally spoke. Junior Sister Bailey, recently there have been too many cultivators asking about this healing medicine. The three of us are also tired of dealing with them. I wonder if you have any plans to tell them about this matter. As he spoke, Ren Ziheng could not help but look at Bailey Hongzhuang's expression, but it's normal that you don't want to tell them. The story that we made up before is basically believed by everyone. I think that as long as they can't find that young master for a period of time, they will give up. My big brother is right. Whether you are willing to tell them about this matter or not, we will respect your decision. As long as you are not willing, we will definitely not leak a single word. Ren Zimei said with a serious expression. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's head drooped slightly. Her fan-like eyelashes fluttered slightly, and a layer of shadow covered her beautiful pitch-black eyes, making it impossible for others to see through her thoughts. Originally, Bailey Hongzhuang had only concocted this healing medicine for everyone to have one more way to save their lives. She did not have the intention to publicize it. After all, they were only Outer Palace disciples now. Once this news spread out, it was imaginable how lively the scene would be. At that time, there would definitely be many people coming to ask her for the medicine. She had a cold temperament, and she was not used to an overly lively environment. However, at this moment, her thoughts suddenly changed. Ever since she knew that Duan Huali had actually done these tricks behind their backs, she felt that she could no longer keep a low profile like this. In this outer palace, with Master Long's name, most cultivators no longer dared to provoke them. Even if someone came looking for trouble, they could easily deal with it. The inner palace was different from the outer palace. The cultivators in the inner palace were much stronger than the cultivators in the outer palace. They were also much bolder. Just like Duan Huali, he clearly knew that the four of them were recruited by Master Long, but he still dared to use these methods behind their backs. This proved that Master Long's name was not enough of a deterrent, or perhaps he thought that he was valuable enough that Master Long would not completely ignore him. Under such circumstances, Duan Huali probably wouldn't give up looking for trouble. With their current strength, it would indeed cause some trouble if Duan Huali were to ask the inner sanctum cultivators to deal with them. Therefore, it was best to display his value so that others would not dare to offend him. Now that he had released the news of the healing medicine, it was an extremely suitable opportunity. Hong Zhuang has never liked. Di Beichen slowly said. Just as he was about to refuse on behalf of Bailey Hongzhuang, the latter's voice suddenly rang out, "Sure, I don't mind telling this matter." As Bailey Hongzhuang's voice fell, Di Beichen, Wen Ziren, and Shengguan Yingying all looked at her in surprise. Her choice at this moment was completely different from her usual style. "Wife, you." Di Beichen frowned slightly. His pitch-black eyes became even deeper, like a black hole that no one could see through. Chapter 36:51. I believe that it won't be long before we become inner palace disciples. When that time comes, we will definitely be noticed by others when we use this healing medicine. Moreover, senior brother Ren and the others will also encounter this problem when they train in the inner palace. If it is just a coincidence, the amount will not be much. If they have been using it, it will be easy to be suspected by others. In this way, if they lose their teammates because of this, it will be a big loss. Bailey Hongzhuang spoke slowly, clearly, and softly. "Beichen, do you think what I said is right?" Di Beichen took a deep look at Bailey Hongzhuang. Although Bailey Hongzhuang's words were reasonable, he still felt that something was wrong. This was not in line with Bailey Hongzhuang's temperament. There must be other reasons. He and Bailey Hongzhuang had known each other and been in love for many years. It could be said that he knew her temperament very well. Therefore, he could guess the reason why Bailey Hongzhuang did this just by thinking about it carefully. It was just that there were so many people here now, it was not convenient for him to say it. "Since you have decided, I will support you." Di Beichen's voice was magnetic and gentle. His gaze towards Bailey Hongzhuang was even more affectionate. When Ziren nodded, "I think what Hongzhuang said is quite reasonable. This kind of thing can be hidden forever. Since it will be known sooner or later, there is no need to hide it. We are now so unpopular in Penglai Palace. If everyone knows that Hongzhuang has such ability, I think our popularity in Penglai Palace will be completely changed in the future." Listening to Ziren's words, Ren Zime couldn't help but chuckle. This is true. Once this news is spread out, it will definitely shock the entire Penglai Palace. At that time, I am afraid that not only Penglai Palace but the entire Penglai Island will be shocked by this news. I believe that at that time, everyone will definitely think that it is a very wise choice for Master Long to recruit you back. You will really be famous. Zime, actually, they have always been quite famous in the Penglai Palace. Chu Jinfeng raised his eyebrows. There was a hint of mockery in his smile. In the history of Penglai Palace, not many people have become as famous as Junior Brother D and the others. Everyone laughed. After they finished talking about the important matters, they began to chat while drinking. "Master, why did you suddenly decide to reveal this matter?" Xiao He looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in confusion. "This doesn't fit your personality." Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes darkened. Since Duan Huali has been looking for trouble, Beichen will definitely confront him directly. With our current strength, if we fight with Duan Huali too early, I'm afraid it won't do us any good. At the very least, we can't do anything while we're in Penglai Palace. If I spread this news, my status will naturally be different from before. Even the Hall Master will pay more attention to me. In this way, if Duan Huali still wants to attack us, then he will have to think carefully. Since Duan Huali wanted to cause trouble for them so much, then she would frustrate Duan Huali's spirit so that he wouldn't have the guts to come again. So that's how it is. Xiao He suddenly understood. If Duan Huali is not a madman, presumably after knowing all this, he will not dare to cause trouble. But Master, do you plan to let Duan Huali go just like that? Chapter 3652. After getting Bailey Hongzhuang's answer, Xiao He was relieved. This was their master's usual temperament. It would be strange if she let Duan Huali go just like that. Junior sister Bailey, since you have agreed, we will no longer keep it a secret if they ask about the healing medicine in the future. Ren Ziheng stared at Bailey Hongzhuang and asked again. Bailey Hongzhuang's decision really gave them a lot of convenience. After all, they had known their teammates from the inner palace for many years. For such a long time, they had cooperated with each other in the face of the skeleton army. Their trust could be said to be extremely high. It was not convenient for them to keep lying to everyone. After all, the lies would be exposed one day. However, they did not want Bailey Hongzhuang to make such a decision because of them. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, okay. Then junior sister Bailey has to be prepared. As we release this news, I'm afraid that it won't be long before everyone comes looking for you. At that time, you will definitely become the most popular person in Penglai Palace. However, there will also be some corresponding trouble. Ren Zimei reminded aloud. Looking at Ren Zimei's worried look, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes gradually softened. Her sexy red lips curled up slightly. Senior sister Ren, you don't have to worry about me. This situation. I am no stranger to it. Her double identity as a doctor and an alchemist made her very popular in the past. No matter when or where, as long as someone knew about it, she would never be deserted. Although she did not like to be so high profile, in fact, she was no stranger to such a situation. Hearing this, Ren Zimei was slightly stunned. However, when she thought of Bailey Hongzhuang's ability, she understood and immediately nodded, oh, right. I forgot. With junior sister Bailey's ability, there must be many people looking for you. Of course. Shengguan Yingying smiled faintly. When we were in the magic tower, the situation was also very lively. In that case, I am relieved. Ren Ziheng relaxed a little. I was a little worried at first, but from the looks of it, you should have adapted to this situation long ago. Chu Jinfeng's eyes lit up. When I first saw you, I felt that the four of you were not simple. Later, when I found out that you were cultivators recruited by Master Long, I understood. But now, it seems that no one knows your true strength. Now I really admire Master Long's vision. No wonder he's willing to take out 3 precious contract beasts. With Master Long's usual temperament, that's absolutely impossible. My master never disappoints anyone. Xiao He jumped onto the table, her round little face filled with pride. Chu Jinfeng glanced at Xiao He, junior sister Bailey, not only are your abilities extraordinary, even your contracted beast is extraordinary. Why have I never heard of such a contracted beast before? Back then, I had contracted them by chance. But they are indeed very good. Bailey Hongzhuang reached out and patted Xiao He's head. She remembered that when she had first transmigrated, Xiao He and Xiao Bai had always been by her side. All these years, the 3 beasts had accompanied her on her adventures and had suffered countless injuries. However, they had always been very loyal to her. Chapter 3653. When everyone came out of the restaurant, the sky was already dark. Under the light, the shadows of the 7 people were elongated. As soon as they returned to the room, Di Beichen closed the door and took Bailey Hongzhuang's hand. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows in surprise. Beichen? Di Beichen exerted a little force with his right hand and directly pulled Bailey Hongzhuang into his arms. One hand circled around her slender waist, and he lowered his head slightly, closing the distance between him and Bailey Hongzhuang. My wife, tell me, why did you suddenly decide to tell me this news? This doesn't fit your personality. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyes and saw Di Beichen's face almost touching hers. His warm breath scattered on her face, revealing a hint of ambiguity and panic. Didn't I already tell you the reason? Staring at Di Beichen's deep and penetrating eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang inexplicably felt a little guilty. She couldn't help but look away when she answered. My wife, do you know that every time you hide something from me, you won't meet my eyes? Di Beichen's magnetic voice slowly sounded, revealing a bewitching aura. However, it made Bailey Hongzhuang feel even more guilty. She always knew that she could deceive many people, but she couldn't deceive Di Beichen. He was always so smart and far-sighted. Even if it was just a small movement, he would be able to find clues. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyelids drooped slightly, and her eyelashes trembled slightly. Her white fingers under her sleeves couldn't help but gradually clench. She wanted to explain something, but she felt that Di Beichen had already seen through everything. She was afraid that her explanation would be meaningless. Looking at the guilt and worry that flashed across the flawless face, Di Beichen couldn't help but sigh. His left hand covered Bailey Hongzhuang's white and tender face, making her raise her head and stare into his eyes. My wife, you must be doing this for me again. His deep and pleasant voice was a little hoarse, and that certain tone seemed to have already determined everything. You are worried that I will directly confront the Duan Huali, so you plan to spread this news. In this way, your status in the outer hall will be improved. Even if the Duan Huali wants to cause trouble again, he will have to think twice. At least in this Penglai palace, he won't dare to attack us easily. Am I right? Di Beichen's handsome eyes were full of affection and heartache, and there was a trace of undetectable pain in the depths of his eyes. Bailey Hongzhuang looked into Di Beichen's eyes. When she saw the latter's frown, she couldn't help but reach out her hand to smooth his brows. Beichen, there is indeed such a reason for me to do this. However, I am also right. This matter will be known by everyone sooner or later. There is not much difference between knowing earlier and later. Bailey Hongzhuang said softly, no matter what, Duan Huali is still an inner hall disciple. If he finds an inner hall disciple to deal with us, it will not be good for us. I believe in you. As long as you are given a little more time, this Duan Huali will not be able to do anything. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's careful words of comfort, Di Beichen's eyes became deeper and deeper. At the same time, there was a trace of anger and heartache. He hugged Bailey Hongzhuang in his arms. My wife, you are so considerate of me. I feel guilty in my heart. In the end, I failed to protect you and made you worry about me. Chapter 36-54. Looking at Di Beichen's appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but feel a little distressed. Ever since she had been together with Di Beichen, Beichen had always done his best to protect her. Even when they were dealing with the Yu clan, Di Beichen had always been protecting her when they went to the Lan clan. From the time when she was just an ordinary young miss of the general's residence until now, Di Beichen had played too many roles behind her back. It was just that the cursed body had shackled him for a very long time, making it difficult for him to increase his strength. Now that his physique had improved with great difficulty, the enemies they had encountered were also getting stronger and stronger. She didn't want Di Beichen to bear all of this on his body. To him, it was also a kind of heavy pressure. We are originally husband and wife. We have already made a vow that no matter what danger we face, we will definitely support each other. Since we are supporting each other, how can I let you protect me blindly? Moreover, this matter is not troublesome to me at all. It is also a good thing that I can show my value in this Penglai palace earlier. Di Beichen's eyes, which were as bright as the stars, were covered with a layer of deep and complicated light. In his heart, he secretly made up his mind that Duan Huali, this kind of trouble, he would definitely personally resolve it. Previously, because of his cursed body, it was difficult for him to increase his strength. Now that his physique had changed, the speed of his cultivation was also different from before. He must increase his strength as soon as possible. Only then could he protect the people he wanted to protect and not let the people he cared about worry. Di Baichen's deep eyes gradually restrained his emotions. Only then did he let go of Bailey Hongzhuang and slowly moved closer to the latter's face. "Wife, I love you." Bailey Hongzhuang's heart suddenly jumped, but the corners of her lips curled up slightly. That pair of clear and bright eyes were already filled with tenderness and sweetness. Her red lips parted slightly. "I love you too." The gentle words made Di Baichen feel as if his heart was being scratched by a kitten. His heart was burning. The confession of his true love had always been irresistible. In the next moment, Di Baichen directly covered Bailey Hongzhuang's red lips. That soft and fragrant lips made his heart sway and he could no longer control himself. Bailey Hongzhuang's hands slowly wrapped around Di Baichen's neck. Facing the other's kiss, she responded passionately. As his body temperature gradually rose, Di Baichen turned around and put Bailey Hongzhuang on the bed. The window curtains swayed gently. And tenderness. The next day, a piece of news came out. The inner disciples are it all. And all of them wanted to find the source. It's strange. I heard that this healing medicine was made by Bailey Hongzhuang. That's just too unbelievable. I wondered if it's a mistake. I also think it's very likely to be a mistake. How old is Bailey Hongzhuang? There are so many famous pharmacists and doctors in 100 Flowers Gate who can't even make a healing medicine, how could she possibly make one? For a moment, the cultivators in the outer palace discussed spiritedly. However, almost everyone was certain that this news was fake because it was just too unbelievable. In reality, when Ren Ziheng and the other two revealed the true nature of the healing medicine, the inner palace disciples were also unwilling to believe it. Chapter 36-55. Jing Tianlang, I lied to you before when I told you that it was from a young man because I didn't get junior sister Bailey's permission. We just happened to run into junior sister Bailey yesterday, so we told her about it. We only told you about it after she agreed. If we wanted to deceive you, the story we made up before would be enough. Why should we seek trouble for ourselves? Ren Ziheng felt rather helpless. Everyone believed him when he lied earlier, but no one believed him when he told the truth now. He had no idea whether to laugh or cry. Jing Tianlang could not help but recall that he had indeed seen Bailey Hongzhuang and the others in the restaurant yesterday. His face changed as he asked in disbelief, "Is that true?" "Of course." Ren Ziheng nodded, "If I'm lying to you about something like that, you can just verify it." "What's the point of lying to you?" "Jing Tianlang, my brother really isn't lying to you." Ren Zimei felt rather helpless as well. In reality, she had considered this possibility before. It was just like how they did not think much of Bailey Hongzhuang when she gave them the medicine because Bailey Hongzhuang was just too young. No one would have imagined that a young woman like her could create medicine like that, so it was very normal for her to be doubted. Jing Tianlang glanced at Ren Ziheng, Ren Zimei, and Chu Jinfeng. His lips twitched when he saw how serious they were. That's just too unbelievable. We were the same back then. Chu Jinfeng spread his hands. If you ask me, I'd say that junior sister Bailey really is a genius. She's only done a little research on the power of darkness, yet she's able to create such an effective medicine. I even think that if she stayed in the inner hall for a while longer, would she be able to create a medicine that completely counters the power of darkness? As soon as these words were spoken, the expressions of Ren Ziheng and the others couldn't help but change. They secretly pondered in their hearts and felt that it wasn't impossible. What you've said has really broadened my horizons. Jing Tianlang sighed, no wonder Master Long paid such a high price to recruit them. It turns out that Bailey Hongzhuang is such an amazing doctor. Chu Jinfeng nodded. Master Long is someone like that. His vision is naturally extraordinary. A cultivator that he values so much is definitely extraordinary. I wonder if you can buy some medicine for me. Last time at the training ground, there was some animosity between us. If I ask them for help, I'm afraid they won't be willing to sell me the medicine. Jing Tianlang frowned. Back then, he did not know that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had such a background. At that time, he had no choice but to do so. However, his words were rather radical and he did not consider Bailey Hongzhuang's situation. After that, he did not explain much. After all, in his opinion, there was no need to explain anything to the outer palace disciples. In Penglai Palace, only inner palace disciples were core disciples. Outer palace disciples did not have any status before they became inner palace disciples. Chapter 36-56. Back then, he had wanted to apologize to Bailey Hongzhuang, but he thought that she would not accept his apology after he understood their identities. Moreover, even though Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three were people that Master Long thought highly of, they were not related to him in any way. It would not be a big deal even if they did not contact each other in the future. However, now that he knew that Bailey Hongzhuang could make such effective healing medicine, he could not maintain the same attitude as before. He had not apologized or explained himself for so long. If he were in Bailey Hongzhuang's shoes, he probably would not have bothered either. If that was the case, the situation would be awkward. Jing Tianlang could not help but regret it. If he had known this would happen, he would have established a good relationship with Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three. Then, he would have been able to enjoy the same treatment as Ren Ziheng and the others. He did not need to think to know that it would not be difficult for Ren Ziheng and the others to obtain the healing medicine. The medicine from before was given to them by Bailey Hongzhuang. Ren Ziheng and the others could not help but look at each other when they heard Jing Tianlang's words. In particular, Ren Zimei immediately understood. Jing Tianlang, I've already told you where the medicine came from. If you need it, it's better for you to get it yourself. If we buy the medicine for you this time, I'm afraid that other cultivators will follow suit in the future. If that happens, we'll be in trouble. I'm sure you understand. Ren Ziheng's expression was serious and his attitude was resolute. To him, it was already good enough that he had told Jing Tianlang this news. Naturally, he would not help him with anything else. In my opinion, junior sister Bailey and the others are not narrow-minded people. Although what you did last time was a little overboard, I'm sure they won't mind if you apologize properly, Chu Jinfeng said slowly. Jing Tianlang's expression was still complicated. He then nodded helplessly. All right, I'll give it a try. As soon as Jing Tianlang heard the news, the other cultivators heard the news as well. When they first heard the news, almost all of them thought it was a misunderstanding. However, after receiving confirmation, they gradually believed it. However, the shock in their hearts did not dissipate. However, just as the cultivators were thinking about how to ask Bailey Hongzhuang for the medicine, Bailey Hongzhuang released the news that she had gone into closed-door cultivation. Everyone could not help but be stunned when they heard this. None of them had expected Bailey Hongzhuang to make such a decision. It was just too unexpected. Bailey Hongzhuang has gone into closed-door cultivation. What should we do now? Since she can go into seclusion, there will naturally be a day when she comes out. We just have to wait. But the biggest problem is that although we know that this healing medicine was made by Bailey Hongzhuang, none of us know if Bailey Hongzhuang is willing to sell it or not. The medicine that Ren Ziheng and the others have was given to them by Bailey Hongzhuang. They didn't buy it. You're right. We don't usually have any relationship with Bailey Hongzhuang. I'm afraid it won't be easy to get close to her at a time like this. Chapter 3657. Why did junior sister Bailey choose to go into seclusion at this time? When Renzime heard the news, she couldn't help but be stunned. They had only released the news after getting junior sister Bailey's permission. However, the latter had decided to go into seclusion at this time, which made her a little puzzled. Looking at Renzime's confused look, Renziheng couldn't help but chuckle. You don't have to worry, junior sister Bailey chose to go into seclusion at this time is not a wise choice. Hearing this, Renzime raised her eyebrows, and her eyes were full of surprise. Big brother, what do you mean by this? Think about it carefully. If junior martial sister Bailey was so easily found by everyone today, then it wouldn't be right for us to give her the medicine, but it also wouldn't be right for us to not give it to her. Now that junior sister Bailey had gone into seclusion, the other cultivators couldn't help but talk about this matter. If it was before, they could still keep it a secret and not leak the news, but as time gradually passed, everyone naturally couldn't hold back their temper. As a result, the number of cultivators who know about this will definitely increase greatly, and the effect of publicity will be there. Since junior sister Bailey chose to release this news, naturally not a small number of people know about it. Now the longer she goes into seclusion, the greater the influence will naturally be. Now I admire them more and more. Ren Ziheng's eyes flashed with a bright light. Now that he thought about it, it was really good that he could become friends with Di Beichen and others. Not to mention their strength, just their brains were already a great weapon. Ren Zime, who was very puzzled by this situation, suddenly understood, and her eyes flashed with a thick light of amazement. So that's how it is, big brother, I really didn't think of this. This is where they are smart. Ren Ziheng glanced at Ren Zime and said helplessly, you have to use your brain more often, otherwise you can't continue like this. I know. Ren Zime curled her lips. Although she didn't think that she was very smart, she didn't think that she was stupid, but now compared with Bailey Hongzhuang and others, she really felt that she wasn't smart enough. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. The news spread like wildfire. Immediately, most of the cultivators in Penglai Palace knew about it. Almost everyone was looking forward to Bailey Hongzhuang coming out of her closed-door training as soon as possible. This way, they would be able to witness the effects of the healing medicine with their own eyes. While many of the inner palace disciples began to think about how to build a good relationship with Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three, the outer palace cultivators' thoughts became extremely complicated. In the outer palace, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three didn't have any friends. Other than Ao Lingxiao, who was close to them a few days ago, they didn't interact with anyone else. Many cultivators did not go looking for trouble with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others out of respect for Master Long. However, this news was no different from a heavy bomb to them. Although no one knew exactly how effective the healing medicine was, they could tell from the fervent expressions of the inner palace disciples that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had become extremely popular in such a short period of time. This was not a good thing for them. Chapter 3658. Following the ferment of this matter, the outer palace disciples had completely given up on finding trouble with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. On the contrary, they could only hope that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others would not cause trouble for them. Previously, with Lord Long around, they could not afford to offend these four people. Now that they had an additional identity, if Bailey Hongzhuang were to use this healing medicine to ask the inner palace disciples for help, they would not refuse at all. That would be very frightening. Ever since Peng Kairui had chosen to give up, Duan Huali had ignored him. He understood that after this incident, Duan Huali probably did not intend to pay any attention to him. However, he did not regret his choice. After all, even if he succeeded, he might not be able to obtain Lord Long's contract beast. The price of failure was not something he could bear. Duan Huali was only so persistent because he could not take it lying down. However, he did not embarrass himself in front of everyone, so he did not mind. However, not long after he had chosen to give up, the news that Bailey Hongzhuang was a doctor spread. He could not help but be shocked, especially when he heard that Bailey Hongzhuang's healing medicine could effectively restrain dark energy. His heart could be said to be in a perilous situation. This was something that he had never thought of. However, when so many people had confirmed it, he had no choice but to believe it. Thinking of this, he was a little flustered and a little glad. He was flustered because he had previously sent Xue Changdong to cause trouble for Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. He was glad that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others did not know that he was the mastermind behind this incident. Besides, he had now completely given up on this matter. Naturally, he no longer had to worry about being implicated. It was a good thing that he had given up early on. He was all too aware of the allure of a powerful doctor. As long as Bailey Hongzhuang was willing, she could use this to recruit many cultivators to work for her. In this way, even if Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were only outer palace disciples, it would not be difficult for them to deal with some inner palace disciples. After thinking about it, Peng Kairui decided to remind Duan Huali. After all, they had known each other for so many years. He did not want to destroy this friendship. Duan Huali, have you heard the news that Bailey Hongzhuang is a doctor? Seeing Peng Kairui's appearance, Duan Huali's eyes flashed with coldness. His voice was low and indifferent. I just heard it. What's wrong? If what everyone said is true, then she absolutely cannot be touched. Peng Kairui said, once Bailey Hongzhuang comes out of seclusion and this news is confirmed, she will be the most popular person in Penglai Palace. Whoever dares to provoke her is asking for trouble. I advise you to stop while they still don't know. Otherwise, it will be too late in the future. Hearing this, Duan Huali could not help but chuckle. I am not as useless as you. Now it is said that Bailey Hongzhuang is a doctor, not Di Beichen. What I want is Di Beichen to die. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang has this ability, I am even happier because once Bailey Hongzhuang becomes my woman, then her ability will be used by me. At that time, the inner palace disciples will have to be respectful to me. Chapter 36-59. I don't need you to worry about me. Duan Huali shouted coldly, his eyes full of disgust. Don't worry, if I really fall, I will definitely not say your name. Duan Huali, that's not what I meant. Peng Kairui frowned. He only felt that Duan Huali was becoming more and more irrational. Although he was also lustful in the past, he would not be so irrational. At least in the past, Duan Huali knew what kind of person he could not touch, but now he was irrationally obsessed with this point. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang was indeed much stronger than the women in the past, his actions were still too stupid. If that's not what I meant, then what do you mean? Duan Huali's eyes were full of haze and coldness. I have known you for many years, but I never knew that you were actually so timid. I naturally have my own reasons for doing this. People who walk different paths cannot make plans together. You don't have to say anything more. Peng Kairui, who originally wanted to say something, could not help but shake his head after seeing Duan Huali's firm attitude. Since you have already said so, I believe that no matter what I say, it will be useless. Then, I wish you good luck. After finishing his words, Peng Kairui did not look at Duan Huali again. He turned around and left the room. People who walk different paths cannot make plans together. Duan Huali even said such words. It meant that he had directly cut off all their years of friendship. At this point, if he continued to advise Duan Huali, it would be equivalent to him being shameless. From now on, no matter what situation Duan Huali was in, he would no longer have anything to do with him. Looking at Peng Kairui's back as he left, the disdain in Duan Huali's eyes became more and more intense. It's fine if you are as timid as a mouse, but you want me to be the same. Do you know that a large part of the reason why you did not receive enough attention after staying in the inner hall for so long is because you are too timid? As a cultivator, if you don't even have this bit of courage, then you're dreaming if you want to achieve higher achievements. Over the next few days, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others entered the oceanic world in the chaos ring to cultivate. They paid no attention to the situation outside. As time passed, this incident continued to ferment. The entire Penglai Palace was attracted by this news. On this day, Yi Zihua smiled as he walked into Long Yanwei's bedchamber, and said with a face beaming with happiness, "Yanwei, do you know that the 4 disciples you recruited recently have been in the limelight again?" Long Yanwei was slightly stunned and said, "What trouble did they get into again? I've only been gone for a short while, and it hasn't been long. What kind of trouble have they caused?" Originally, after giving 3 demon pet eggs to Bailey Hongzhuang and the other 3, his inventory was not much. Then, he was robbed by the palace master. His inventory was completely insufficient. It was precisely because of this that he went out to find new demon pet eggs to seal during this period of time. He did not expect that just as he returned, Yi Zihua would tell him such a piece of news. "Why didn't you ask what exactly happened and immediately conclude that they got into trouble?" Yi Zihua chuckled, and there was a hint of ridicule between his brows. Chapter 3660. Speak, what kind of trouble did they cause this time? As long as it's not too troublesome, it doesn't matter. Looking at Long Yanwei's disapproving look, Yi Zihua couldn't help but circle around the former. His eyes were filled with surprise. "Yanwei, you've really changed. In the past, you were always very annoyed by this kind of thing. Now, you're really taking too much care of these 4 little fellows, who asked me to recruit them." Long Yanwei's expression revealed a hint of helplessness. In the past, he had always ignored the various situations of cultivators. As for this kind of disciple who often caused trouble, he was even more disdainful. Ever since he recruited Bailey Hongzhuang and the other 3, the situation had completely changed. Unknowingly, he had actually gotten used to helping them clean up the mess behind their backs. Most importantly, he actually didn't think that it was a big deal. Seeing this, Yi Zihua shook his head and sighed. "Yanwei, I really didn't think that you would have a day like this. Stop beating around the bush. Just tell me what happened. I only hope that this time, the palace master won't catch anything that can be used against me. Otherwise, I won't be able to withstand the palace master's robbery anymore." Thinking of the demon pet egg that was robbed by the palace master, Long Yanwei couldn't help but feel a pang of pain. Yi Zihua opened his folding fan and fanned himself gracefully. His eyebrows slightly raised and a slight smile appeared on his lips. "This time, it wasn't the palace master who robbed you. Who knows, you might have the chance to rob the palace master." Following Yi Zihua's words, Long Yanwei was slightly startled. "What do you mean by that? Do you know that the Bailey Hongzhuang you recruited is actually a doctor?" Long Yanwei nodded. "I've heard of this before." "So what? That's incredible." Yi Zihua put away his folding fan and his expression became serious. "Right now, the entire Penglai Palace is spreading the news that Bailey Hongzhuang has made a healing medicine that is even more effective than the magic refining tower. This healing medicine has a very good restraining effect on the power of darkness." When these words came out, the surprise on Long Yanwei's face became even more intense. His movement seemed to freeze in an instant, and then he frowned and said in a deep voice, "Where did this news come from? Could it be that someone wants to frame them? Look at what you're saying. It seems like you're not very clear about the strength of the disciple that Zhao Lan brought back." Yi Zihua sat down across from Long Yanwei and calmly poured a cup of tea. His expression was unrestrained and leisurely. Long Yanwei snatched the teacup from Yi Zihua's hand and placed it in front of him. He said, "If you want to say something, then say it clearly. Are you trying to make me anxious?" Haha. Yi Zihua laughed out loud. Only after seeing Long Yanwei's gradually darkening expression did he withdraw his joking attitude. "All right, I have already found the source of this matter. So it was my disciple Ren Ziheng and the others who said it. According to what they said, this matter was indeed true. Bailey Hongzhuang had previously gone to the inner hall to train and had seen the characteristics of the dark energy. After returning, she had created this healing medicine. When they went to experience the second time, Bailey Hongzhuang gave them some healing medicine, and it was this healing medicine that saved Ren Ziheng's life." Chapter 3661. Even the 100 Flowers Gate doesn't have this kind of healing medicine. Once this news gets out, our Penglai Palace's reputation will become even more resounding. Is that true? Even though Yi Zihua's words were reasonable, Long Yanwei still found it hard to believe because Bailey Hongzhuang was really too young. No one would have thought that this kind of healing medicine could be made by a doctor of Bailey Hongzhuang's age. It's more real than real gold. Long Yanwei frowned slightly, his eyes flashing with a thoughtful light. I've never heard them talk about this in detail before. If that's really the case, then Bailey Hongzhuang's medical skills are truly astonishing. You can't judge a book by its cover. Yi Zihua raised his eyebrows, thinking back to when I first saw Bailey Hongzhuang and the other three. I also didn't believe that their fighting strength would be so great. No matter what, it was a wise move for you to recruit them this time. In that case, they didn't cause me any trouble this time. On the contrary, they made me proud. A joyful smile immediately appeared on Long Yanwei's face, a hint of pride faintly appearing between his brows. Ever since he recruited the four, most people had questioned his choice and decision. Fortunately, he had never cared about what others thought and simply felt that the four were moldable talents. However, now that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had helped him fight back, he felt very gratified. Yi Zihua nodded. Of course, this isn't just any ordinary face. Think about it, the 100 Flowers Gate hasn't been able to produce a healing medicine that can effectively restrain the power of darkness for so many years. A few days ago, the Demon Refining Tower produced it. This really shocked everyone. For the sake of that healing medicine, the Palace Master has also put in a lot of effort. Every time, he tries his best to get more of it. Now, the disciples you recruited have even more effective healing medicine. In my opinion, you can take advantage of this opportunity to blackmail the Palace Master. Hearing Yi Zihua's words, Long Yanwei's eyes gradually brightened. If all of this is true, then I really can blackmail the Palace Master. All these years, it has always been the Temple Master who has been trying to extort things from me. This time, I have to bring back something useful. Looking at the increasingly bright and treacherous light in Long Yanwei's eyes, Yi Zihua suddenly began to pray for the Hall Master. The Palace Master was usually a profiteer. He often took advantage of Long Yanwei, but Long Yanwei had never been able to fight back. Now that Long Yanwei finally found an opportunity, it was likely that the Palace Master would definitely bleed fiercely. By the way, has this news been completely confirmed? Long Yanwei asked. I have to find Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to understand. Don't worry. Yi Zihua extended his folding fan to block Long Yanwei, who was about to leave. Ever since this news spread out, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest cleverly went into closed-door cultivation and have yet to come out. In my opinion, it will take a few more days for them to come out. I see. Long Yanwei nodded, then help me pay attention. If there is news of them coming out of seclusion, let me know immediately. I still have some things to do. You speak as if I have a lot of free time. You have more free time than me. Otherwise, why would you have the leisure to pay attention to the gossip in the Penglai Palace? Long Yanwei asked very naturally, "You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."